Located in Siena, Monte dei Paschi, the world's oldest bank, became infamous for major financial scandal. Founded in 1472, this Italian bank has a reputation for stability. Pierluigi Piccini was the mayor of Siena from 1990 to 2001. Later, he was Deputy General Director of the Monte dei Paschi branch in Paris. He knows the bank from inside. According to him, the entire economy of the Tuscany region depended on this bank.
A dirla in termini semplicissimi, è stata la più grande industria toscana, di fatto il Monte dei Paschi. E è stata determinante per la vita della città e del territorio, perché anche la provincia ne ha usufruito positivamente, così come sia l'area grossetana, più l'area grossetana che aretina. Fa parte un po' del DNA dei senesi il Monte dei Paschi, cioè è una storia che di generazione in generazione.
But in early 2000s, things took a dark turn. The bank's executives turned in risky investments and complex financial maneuvers to hide losses. They bought Anton Veneta, another bank, at inflated price in 2008 using high-interest loans. To cover up the financial strain, Monte dei Paschi used derivatives and secret contracts weighting the bet of the seat. Transactions with Monte dei Paschi have been extensively studied by risk manager Constantino De Blasi. For 8 years, he organized networks, provided training on insurance and financial consulting in the Generali Group, and has been an asset management specialist. Currently, he is working at RE Value in Milan. He says that the acquisition of the rival credit institution Anton Veneta was a strange transaction and indicated that an earthquake was approaching.
Terremoto MPS nasce da lontano, stiamo parlando degli anni, insomma, dalla seconda metà degli anni 2000 in particolare. MPS decide, per poter stare sul mercato e per poter essere competitiva sul mercato, almeno questa è come è stata letta l'operazione, di fare un'acquisizione. Tra l'altro acquisizione strana, perché come sappiamo quell'acquisizione veniva elaborata dopo che quella banca, Anton Veneta, aveva già passato di mano per un dato prezzo, e poi dopo pochi mesi, incredibilmente, il prezzo a cui MPS decide di acquistare quella banca aumenta di 1/3, cosa abbastanza anomala, sinceramente. È difficile pensare che in quel breve periodo gli asset di quella banca preda diventassero così appetibili tanto da determinare un aumento di prezzo così clamoroso.
Blasi believes that a deal could only have happened because Monte dei Paschi was not monitored well enough by the European Central Bank, which should have noticed the earthquake approaching because of 2 billion hole in bank's balance appeared.
Poiché i conti non erano sostenibili, almeno la Banca d'Italia diceva che i criteri di patrimonialità di MPS non erano sufficienti a fare un'acquisizione di quel tipo, il management, si presume il management di MPS, mette in atto delle operazioni, diciamo così, poco trasparenti.
In 2008, German Deutsche Bank and the Japanese Nomura helped to hide the 2 billion hole of the Italian credit institution. By lending money in all conditions, Italians returned almost twice as much to the Germans and Japanese. Neither the Italian authorities nor shareholders of Monte dei Paschi were informed about this affair. Whistleblowers eventually exposed the fraud, leading to the investigations which revealed the true extent of the bank's troubles. Executives faced trials and some were convicted to the scandal. The Italian court started a criminal offense here. 13 officials of 3 banks appeared before Italian court with criminal charges. The court also fined Deutsche Bank to 62 and Nomura Bank to 88 million euros. Monte dei Paschi struggled to recover and needing overwhelmed bailouts. Today the bank is still dealing with default of the scandal. but serves as a lesson and financial oversight and corporate governance. Another controversial point is the role played by the ECB on the whole affair and the accusations of cover-ups.
La Banca d'Italia è organo dell'Eurosistema e quindi le attività di vigilanza vengono disposte dalla BCE e coordinate dalla BCE, ma poi vengono materialmente eseguite dalla Banca Centrale Nazionale. Vedere in questo una responsabilità diretta di Francoforte, secondo me, è una forzatura.
Quindi se noi usiamo la parola insabbiamento, insabbiare, Deutsche Bank, Nomura o le istituzioni di controllo hanno fatto di tutto per insabbiare i problemi di Monte dei Paschi, è una forzatura o c'è del vero?
Questa è materia per i PM. Deutsche Bank, Nomura e tutte le altre banche che costruiscono strumenti finanziari complessi rispondono alla vigilanza e devono rispondere in modo trasparente alla vigilanza. Hanno insabbiato o non hanno insabbiato? Non lo so, sinceramente. Deutsche Bank della situazione, Nomura della situazione, ripeto, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Commerzbank, Credit Suisse, tutte le banche hanno l'obbligo di rispondere in modo trasparente.
Blassi says at that time there was an opportunity to take over and nationalize the bank. Such a possibility has been seriously considered. This, of course, would have required huge public investment.
Questa è una bella domanda. Devo dire che io e qualche altro analista proprio nel 2012 andammo a Siena proprio a proporre che ci fosse una nazionalizzazione rapida, nazionalizzazione naturalmente finalizzata alla pulizia dei bilanci, alla pulizia della banca, alla pulizia anche della governance della banca per poi rimettere Monte dei Paschi correttamente sul mercato.
The Monte dei Paschi crack would cost around 30 billion euro. These would be resources taken from the market, increases in capital funds and public money, among other things allocated by Gentileoni's government at the end of 2016 to temporarily nationalize the bank. If this nationalization was made immediately at the beginning of the crisis and investigations, many analysts agree that it would most likely have halved the final costs.
Una delle proposte che girava in quel periodo, che era sui giornali, ci furono molte proposte, anche quella di mettere insieme il Monte dei Paschi con la struttura delle poste. La nazionalizzazione è stato un tabù soltanto per l'Italia, però, perché da altre parti la nazionalizzazione di banche esistono. Un tabù che proviene, almeno a detta di qualcuno, dalla Comunità Europea. Vede, anche qui la cosa è interessante. Per quanto mi riguarda, e non da solo, con un gruppo di finanzieri e banchieri, noi avevamo messo a punto una proposta che si chiamava Banca Pubblica di Investimento. Le banche pubbliche di investimento esistono in Francia, esistono in Spagna, esistono in Inghilterra. Questa proposta nessuno l'ha voluta prendere in considerazione. Perché anche nonostante che io personalmente abbia fatto incontri a livello di ministri e quant'altro, con presidenti di commissione e quant'altro, perché si trattava di di fare un lavoro profondo per quanto riguarda il sistema finanziario italiano.
What lesson could be learned from this affair?
Che ciascun attore in gioco deve fare la sua parte e non più della sua parte, ma deve farla bene. La politica si deve preoccupare delle norme, si deve preoccupare delle leggi, si deve preoccupare di creare le condizioni affinché un sistema economico di cui le banche fanno parte funzioni, ma poi deve restare fuori da quell'ambito, dal funzionamento. Cioè, creo l'ambiente, creo le norme, ma poi resto fuori e non gestisco. Stessa cosa per le banche nazionali, banche centrali, che devono essere assolutamente indipendenti dalla politica e da qualunque altra tentazione di commistioni, E infine le banche che sono a valle devono fare il loro mestiere di banchieri secondo criteri di prudenza e secondo criteri di merito. Queste vicende, la vicenda Monte Paschi ma tante altre vicende, possono essere di insegnamento? Chi lo sa? L'effetto migliore come insegnamento è che se qualcosa non ha funzionato nella vigilanza bisogna mettere mano alla vigilanza. La mia idea è che ci sia nelle scelte politiche europee oggi troppa ideologia.
What would be the expected future of Monte dei Paschi Siena?
Le posso dire che è una lezione importante per chi la vuole prendere come lezione, per chi non si accontenta degli alibi. È una lezione importante. Ma gli alibi permettono poi la mattina di alzarsi sempre e pensare che la colpa sia di qualcun altro. Invece qui fino in fondo le responsabilità non sono emerse per tutta una serie di coperture. E allora se le responsabilità non sono emerse per una serie di coperture ci sono gli alibi e tutto va come deve andare, cioè la barca continua a camminare. Poi si fa un po' di muina, lo sai cos'è la muina, no? La adoperava gli ammiragli napoletani, metteva quelli che erano a poppa a prua, quelli a prua a prua, e si fa così e si continua a campare finché si riuscirà a campare. E poi ci sono i numeri, a un certo punto diventeranno loro i padroni, no? Di tutto.
The Milan court had convicted at first instance all the managers for the creative finance operations carried out by Monte dei Paschi between 2008 and 2012. According to the accusation, those financial operations called Alexandria, Santorini, Chianti Classico and Fresh were designed to cover the losses generated by the purchase of the Anton Veneta Bank. But on appeal, the first instance ruling was overturned. The Alexandria and Santorini operations were not derivatives, but financing contracts. So no false accounting, no market manipulation, no obstacles to supervision. On May 28, 2024, another twist. The Milan court orders the compulsory indictment of the former CEO of Monte dei Paschi, Marco Morelli, and the former presidents, Alessandro Falce and Stefania Variatti, on charges of false corporate communications and market manipulation in relation to the 2016-17 financial statements. According to the accusation, the precautionary recapitalization of Monte dei Paschi, carried out in 2017 with 5.4 billion paid by the Treasury, took place on the basis of false balance sheet data. A story similar to that of Monte dei Paschi has unfolded in Latvia, involving secret deals and cover-ups of the true nature of the transactions that took place. Parex was the largest Latvian bank for years. Its shareholders, Valerijs Kargins and Viktors Krasovickis, were influential people not only in the banking sector, but also in politics and with connections in influential circles in Russia. The bank's branch in Russia was licensed in 1995 by Vladimir Putin, vice mayor of St. Petersburg at that time. As later revealed from Spanish court documents, Parex was involved in money laundering of the Tambovskaya mafia. Gangster Gennady Petrov worked closely with Alexander Bastrikin, head of the Russian Investigative Committee. Petrov's group obtained all the information necessary for the mafia from the databases of the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs. Cooperation was mutual. The mafia helped the Russian secret services in arms trade and influence operations. In 2008, during the world economic crisis, the Parex Bank faced problems. The bank had extended large loans to persons close to the owners. It could not return the syndicated loan to the international lenders. The bank's owners went to the government to ask for a loan, but it turned out that Parex assets were empty.
I'm going to London to meet a whistleblower who knows what really happened at Parex Bank and what's still happening at Citadele Bank.
My banking career was something out of the ordinary. The things that went on when I was a banker in Riga were about the US government, the Russian government, the Latvian government, meetings with the FBI, and a whole level of finance that is not taught in universities. Something very strange happened when I gave information about the bank where I worked to the government, because certain people in the government asked me for the information. When I gave them the information, their reaction was not to use the information in a transparent way to stop the problems, but rather to cover up what happened, which puts me in exile. But the way that things worked and the way that I thought things would work were totally opposite, because I thought that these people wanted the information that I gave to them, and I was shocked that the reaction was to cover it up instead of to use the information.
A last-minute loan to Russian oligarch Eduard Hudaynatov also contributed to the bank's collapse. Parex lent $120 million to entities controlled by him. This money was never returned. But later it turned out that persons related to the owner of Parex, Valery Kargin, had received payment from Hudaynatov's interests. As it turned out later, according to the FBI, Hudaynatov acted as a straw owner of Vladimir Putin's yacht Scheherazade. This yacht is currently docked in the port of Carrara, Italy, where our crew managed to film it twice. For the first time, immediately after the arrest of the yacht in the middle of 2022, and this year in September 2024. Reconstruction can be seen at the stern of the ship, and the huge flotation device is wrapped in a protective cloth to avoid damage. The Italian press writes that the storage of the ship has already cost the country 5 million euros. But this is not the only Hudaynatov's asset seized by the Italian authorities. Under arrest of financial police is also Villa Alta Chiara, a historic mansion located on the promontory of Portofino, the fabled luxury seaside resort. He bought the villa in 2015 for 25 million euros. Our crew also filmed it in September 2024, and as we see, there are reconstruction works going on as well.
There were certain other people, some people have been in the media, in particular Eduard Hudaynatov, and the large amount of money he received from Parex was actually after my whistleblowing. So if someone had acted on my whistleblowing, this could have been prevented. But Parex transferred a large amount of money to this individual, Mr. Hudaynatov, who it turns out is an associate of Vladimir Putin since St. Petersburg days. And it also turned out that he's the front owner of Vladimir Putin's Superyacht, which is currently arrested in Italy. What this means in plainer talk is that Latvian taxpayers may have paid for Putin's Superyacht because Parex gave the money to this guy. This guy bought the Superyacht. The money was never paid back to Parex, and the taxpayers had to pay back the money.
Back in Latvia, in order not to have to go through the bankruptcy procedure, the shareholders of Parex Bank gave their shares to the Latvian state. To save Parex from bankruptcy, the Latvian government paid more than €1 billion into the bank. Most of this money was never recovered. In 2009, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development became a shareholder of Latvian Parex Bank.
Eiropas Rekonstrukcijas attīstības banka atzīst finansiālo situāciju Latvijā un Parex bankā par pietiekoši stabilu, lai iesaistītos šajā biznesā.
In 2009, Latvian Prime Minister Valdis Dombrovskis signed an agreement with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development for an investment in the bank of approximately 80 million euros. However, along with this contract, a secret guarantee was signed that the Latvian state guarantees the repayment of this investment with interest with its budget. Igor Spimenos was in opposition in the Latvian parliament when Dombrovskis signed the EBRD Parex deal in 2009. Neither public nor opposition of the parliament was informed that this deal had a secret guarantee. The deal was reversed back by surprise in 2014, causing another big loss to Latvian taxpayers.
Nu, fakts bija tas, ka viņa nebija zelta akcijas, tāpēc ERAP iztenoja, aktualizēja to norunāto opcijas līgumu, par kuru mēs tagad runājam. Lūk, tātad, kad iestājies opcija līguma termiņš, ERAP pieteicās, cik tālāk saprotu, un lūk, valstī vajadzēja atmaksāt 93 miljonus un vēl klāt 21 miljonu. Tas kā Euribor plus 3% par laiku no 9. līdz 15. gadam. Tātad 93 plus 21 sanāk mums 114 miljoni eiro, kas ir jāsamaksā no kurienes? No valsts budžeta.
The state of Latvia had not declared this obligation and received a reprimand for this from the European Union institution Eurostat. It reprimanded the Latvian state if under such conditions of buying shares, this cannot be registered as a completed transaction. And such an obligation should have been registered in the state budget as a guarantee of obligations, which was not done. This transaction has also been criticized by the Dutch finance minister at the time, Joren Dijsselbloem. Even though Eurostat reprimanded Latvia for its accounting, Eurostat didn't force Latvia to correct its accounting, and this false accounting still continues today. According to Eurostat's 2018 report about Latvia, there is another secret guarantee outstanding today, which obligates Latvia to repurchase the EBRD shares of Parex successor, Citadele Bank. This Citadele guarantee was never revealed by the Latvian government to Latvia's citizens and creditors, who still don't know how much Latvia must pay to the EBRD in the future. Keep in mind, these secret guarantees don't benefit Latvia and instead cause Latvia to lose more money. The people who benefit are bankers connected with Putin.
And the essence, which connects the Parex Bank situation with London as well, is that there was a fake transaction where Latvia supposedly sold a stake in Parex and later supposedly sold a stake in Citadele Bank to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the EBRD, which is located in London, and those transactions were fake transactions. And this is not even controversial because even from official documents from the European Union, from Eurostat, says that Latvia did not really sell Parex to the EBRD, and Latvia did not really sell Parex to, or sell Citadele to the EBRD, but rather it was the opposite transaction where Latvia paid the EBRD to pretend to invest in these banks, but it was not a normal investment. The same like if you tried to sell this watch to me for 100 euros and I say no, and then you secretly offer to give me 200 euros if I pretend to buy this from you for 100 euros, it's not the same transaction. This is a fraud, this is what happened. The government should admit to this, and then there should be some kind of honesty coming from the government toward the people about what really happened and why did it happen. It indicates Kremlin control of the government. If they have a different excuse, then they can say what it is. I think there could be changes, and acknowledgement that the collapse of Parex Bank was misrepresented by the government and was misrepresented in the media. There are stories going around from politicians for years that this was something that happened because of the United States, or this was something that happened because of Sweden. And this is absolutely not what I saw. What I saw and what I understood was something very different, that this bank was related to the Kremlin, and the Kremlin is the reason why Parex Bank collapsed. And what we've been hearing from our government spending billions of euros since then to try to, first of all, to save Parex, and then later other things that were continuing on from that, that this is a big cover-up and it's not the truth. If we just expose this one thing, if we're honest about what happened at Parex, that Parex was connected with the Kremlin and the government is protecting the people from Parex using our money dishonestly. If we just admit to this one thing, it's going to be a change. It's going to change the power structure, the people running the country, and the way in which the government operates are going to change.
This transaction has been assessed as suspicious by Sven Kiergold, a member of the European Parliament from Germany. In the Latvian television's film Jumts, he expressed his suspicions that the Latvian state might have acted similarly to Greece, which falsified its financial indicators when joining the Eurozone.
The openness for mainly money from Russia. So I was looking at the balance sheet of the bank and seeing, interesting, there's lots of foreign holdings. And I started informally to contact people in the ECB.
Did the ECB somehow respond to you?
Well, they ensured that they will take the case seriously. The ECB confirmed they will look into detail, and this is what I wanted.
In 2001, the Goldman Sachs Bank, in cooperation with the Greek government, implemented a dizzying settlement scheme to hide Greece's 2.8 billion large debt before joining the Eurozone. When Greece had already become a Eurozone country, it was revealed that not only these 2.8 billion, but an additional billion in commission money had to be returned.
Such operations were used by a whole number of member states in order to rectify their national accounts. And of course this is relevant because this is around joining the euro, and therefore there might have been an interest by the Latvian government make the Latvian national accounts look nicer than they actually were. And of course this comes with a cost which has to be borne by the Latvian taxpayer, because all these operations are costing money.
Back in Latvia, in 2015, Parex Bank sold the majority stake in Parex successor, Citadele Bank, to a group of investors led by Timothy Collins, linked to the Ripplewood investment company and the former board member of Citigroup. Citibank is also the institution who has for years been the correspondent bank for Parex Bank and is today continuously providing correspondent services to Citadele. Other investors who offered more were refused because the Latvian government's partner, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, announced that it would directly cooperate with American investors in the administration of Citadele.
It's a shame for the people who live in Latvia, work in Latvia, pay taxes in Latvia, that their government is controlled by these same people who have been ripping off the country for many years.
US Democratic Party politician John Kerry was involved in the further settlement of the Ripplewood transactions. According to the information available in documentary Jumts, he went to visit Prime Minister Māris Kučinskis several times to complain about the court process and urge the Latvian authorities to treat Citadele investor better. The participants of the meeting even suspected that Kerry himself has hidden interests in the Citadele Bank. Kerry is currently US President Joe Biden's special climate envoy.
Mr. Kerry, about this meeting 6 years ago with Māris Kučinskis, Latvian Prime Minister, in the time when Tim Collins received shares in Citadele Bank. Why did you schedule those meetings? I understand. I send the questions to your advisor and nothing to do with it.
Kerry has officially declared his salary at his friend Collins' company Ripplewood, but there is no word on what services it was received for. At the end of 2014, the Latvian Parliament established a parliamentary commission of inquiry into the circumstances under which Parex was rescued. The members of Parliament concluded that the agreement contained norms that created risks that the deal would not be beneficial for Latvia. At that time, the commission was headed by Deputy Gunārs Kūtris.
Process, kā notika Citadeles bankas pārdošana, kas uz to brīdi pamatā piederēja Latvijas valstī, 85%, ka tas process notika vienu brīdi haotiski, izvirzot sev konkrētu vienu mērķi – pārdot, neanalizējot citas versijas. Un tas, protams, varētu liecināt par iesaistītu amatpersonu un institūciju, oficiāls var teikt tā, neprasmi.
Commission members particularly criticized the role of Latvian officials in attracting the EBRD. Even more direct is Andrejs Elksniņš, a member of the commission at that time, and the current mayor of Daugavpils, Latvia's second largest city. According to him, the Latvian authorities tried to hide the incompetence of this transaction by making it secret.
Cik manā atmiņā neviļ, tad, manuprāt, visšaubīgākais tajā brīdī bija caurskatāmības trūkums attiecībā uz pārdošanas darījumu, kad ļoti daudzi dokumenti tika vilkti ārā tikai izmeklēšanas komisijas laikā. Banka tika pārdota no Latvijas puses par sviestmaizi. Jautājums, kas arī tika izvirzīts priekšplānā, ko vidzīja viens no kolēģiem, vai EBRD, piemēram, iekšā nākšana nebija saistīta ar pēc patiesības kredītu Latvijas valstī, ko banka ieguva, EBRD banka ieguva ieejot pamatkapitālu.
Parex sold the bank to the new shareholders when the Latvian government was headed by Laimdota Straujuma.
Really, very best.
She believes that there was no way to act differently then.
In 2008, by providing state support to Parex Bank, Latvia assumed the state support obligation to sell Citadele Bank by the end of 2014. EBRD became a shareholder of the bank in April 2009. Given the specific conditions, even today, I believe that the government's actions in 2014 were correct. The existing regulatory framework was absurd during the sales process. All payments made to the EBRD were related to the cancellation of the liabilities assumed by the Latvian government in previous years. After 10 years, I cannot comment on the rationality for imposing one or another confidentiality condition.
Straujuma claims she doesn't know there was a whistleblower. However, Latvia could have used the whistleblower's information, plus other information, which is all publicly available for years, to recover the lost money. Also, Latvia could find the EBRD the same way that Italy found Deutsche Bank and Nomura for the Monte dei Paschi cover-up. Therefore, Latvia is still paying for the cover-up. Whistleblower John Christmas tries to get into the EBRD building.
I'm standing here next to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and I see they have a very beautiful sculpture of a lion.
There was a way that the Latvian government could have acted differently. Normally, when the bank assets disappear in the other countries, the people who took the money are prosecuted and the government takes the money back. Just like Monte dei Paschi in Italy had whistleblowers, Parex also had one. He believes that the activity of this foreign organization in Latvia should be evaluated in exactly the same way as the transaction with Siena Bank in Italy. EBRD has also made other interesting investments. For example, in Ameria Bank Armenia, controlled by Vladimir Putin-aligned Armenian oligarch Vardanyan, and Bank of Cyprus, which is partially owned by another Russian oligarch, Viktor Vekselberg. The European Union's governor for the EBRD is the Vice President of the Commission, Valdis Dombrovskis, the same one who, as the Prime Minister of Latvia, signed the agreement with the EBRD on investments in Parex. Member of the European Parliament, Ansis Pūpols, has submitted a request to the European Commission to explain why joint business with Putin's oligarchs is permissible for the bank it supervises.
Eiropas Rekonstrukcijas un attīstības banka 2014. Gadā ieguldījusi Kipras bankā Bank of Cyprus vairāk kā 107 miljonus eiro. Es lūdzu rosināt Eiropas Rekonstrukcijas un attīstības bankai veikt pilnu šīs bankas auditu, lai laikā, kad notiek kardarbība Ukrainā, Eiropas Rekonstrukcijas un attīstības banka nebūtu saistīta ar Krievijas oligarkiem.
The connections between Parex Bank and Vladimir Putin should be of major security interest to the West. Parex was operating in St. Petersburg with signed permission from Putin and was connected with the Tambovskaya mafia and Eduard Hudaynatov. Putin is at war with the West not only with his active war against Ukraine, but also with spying, cyber attacks, election interference, assassinations, and nuclear threats. This raises a question: should governments be playing a banker's game to cover up what happened at Parex? The way to stop this banker's game is with more transparency. Fraud should be exposed and punished, not covered up and rewarded.